In the urban spaces, you find that most women move from the rural areas to the urban slums or squatter settlements, or sometimes known as people settlements. And they migrate because of issues to do with land that force them out of their matrimonial homes in the rural settings. Mainly if their husband or a spouse dies, they find themselves not having a place to call a home, so they migrate with their children. And when they migrate, because they are not economically stable, they end up in these crowded places where there are no basic amenities to enable them to even survive or live a life, a decent life. When you look at the slum population, for example in Nairobi, which is almost 60% of the population living in the slums or human settlements, most of these homes are female-headed households. So you find that all that we're talking about in terms of marginalization and vulnerability affect women directly, because they are the ones who have to take care of the children. They're the ones who have to ensure that even health-wise the children are taken care of. They're the ones who have to really fight for their rights in terms of government providing infrastructure, energy, water in these settlements. But because they don't understand it or they do not have the education, they are not able to voice. And so you find that the slums are even growing on a daily basis because they have nowhere else to go.
The relationship here between gender equality and urbanization is very important, because if you want to reach this gender equality, you need to provide women a safe and a secure environment. Let's say a basic thing, if you want women to have the same employment opportunities like men, and let's say a woman wants to come back late at night to her house, if she doesn't have lighting in her street, there is no pedestrian access to her house, to her neighborhood. These type of things that are very detailed and small and we don't usually think about has a big impact on women and how their role in the society. So especially in communities where there are the cultural and social factors that play their role.
Usually when we talk about violence against women, it's often from a known person. There's a lot known in social science about domestic partners and violence in that context, but there's very, very little known about public spaces and the issues that women face when they're in public spaces in cities. So that's an area we've started studying, and we've gathered, there's very little data. The data we've seen that I've looked at is mostly from India, and you might have seen a lot of news came because the women are worried about their safety when they're on the public bus, when they're waiting in the bus stop. So there's a fair amount of information on where women feel unsafe in cities. It varies by cities. But when you step back, in our group we stepped back and we said you can do some solutions like there's an app in India where you can call if you're feeling unsafe. But it can't be solved only through this response, because these are all responses. And so at the end, it's also worthwhile asking who's perpetrating this? What is the socio-cultural background? What's causing this? It may be migration, it may be difficulties in adjusting to urban life, where the norms were very different in how women and men had different status. And what does city life do that? And how can you have more of the social acclimatization to address this?